you don't want to do that, I can point you to 13 churches in the area that you can just walk in, be a consumer, and no one will even know you were there.
You almost feel like you have to have everything for everyone in order for them to like you.
I've also seen Sunday school split churches. Life groups, those work. I've also seen life groups split churches.
Because the more I see these big churches focus on this and it works.
Out of 12, 15 people to think that all 12, all 15 were now going to be besties, probably not going to happen, certainly not with my personality.
Someone wants to talk about the government or talk about some random conspiracy theory.
We had a cookout. So-and-so started drinking, and we were like, oh, is this what kind of party it is?
I'm new to this church. I don't know who the people are, and now I have to go to a random house?
To all the objections, to all the barriers, in all empathy, get over it. You got to push through that, and you got to do what we're called to do, be who we're called to be.
Welcome to the Eyes on Jesus podcast with Drew and Tim. We are excited to be with you today on another hot day in the summer. It's August 1st where we're recording, and for me in Arizona, it seems like August is going to be hotter than July in Arizona, which is usually not the case, but August is usually hot. We've got a bunch of 110 plus days facing us down the barrel here. So we're trying to stay cool, but things are getting back in the swing at church and school. And so here we are. So with Drew, what's going on with you? What are you looking forward to in August?
Yeah. Well, like you said, just getting back in the swing of things, like kids going back to school. We've got a young adults ministry launching at our church, which is really great for our 18 to 30-year-olds. And yeah, I mean, just getting in a rhythm again with the school year, back to, all right, when are we dropping off kids? When are we picking up kids? All those kinds of things. And then of course, sports programs pop up and all that. So just, certainly busy, but there's a little bit of a rhythm to find in the busyness. And just really, really excited for the season of ministry I'm in, season of our family. And then from a weather standpoint, it's colder here in the next 2 weeks than it's been since like May. There's some name for it. It's like a polar something
express.
I don't know. Yep, that's it. And I think Tom Hanks has brought in some kind of weather force, but it's in like low 80s for a while and a lot of rain. So that'll be kind of nice for everybody working outside and mowing grass and all that fun stuff. But I'm excited for our topic today. Really, really neat that this is a topic we've talked about before in some depth. It's a topic that many people have questions about, whether you're in ministry or not, just when it comes to like, why is ministry set up this way? How do you back it up? All those kinds of things. And, we even had a comment from somebody who follows the podcast and listens. Nick, wanted to know more information about this topic. So really grateful that our listeners are reaching out and telling us what they want to hear. This is an opportunity to do that. And so if you're listening now and you're like, oh man, I want to, let them know what I want to hear about, that's great.
Yeah. And Nick is our top commenter by far. So if you'd like to be like Nick and comment, you can comment on Spotify directly. You can comment on our YouTube. You can comment on Facebook, our Eyes on Jesus podcast community, and just let us know. Every episode, you probably have a thought about or a comment or an experience you'd like to share. And so we would love to hear it. And we might even share it on a whole topic we're doing just because of this comment. And he was responding to one of our episodes where I was talking about people come to church wanting to be seen, but they don't feel seen, even if someone sees them, right? Because being seen goes deeper than just, hey, how you doing, right? And so that was what we talked about. And he said that he wanted us to reflect on life groups. And he has personally seen these have kind of a 50-50 success rate where 50 people say they love it. He said 30 people feel indifferent and 20 people say they would never do it again. Just anecdotally, that's kind of what he thinks from life groups, from what he has seen. And so that got us thinking about life groups being such a major topic in churches. And I would even call it I think, one of our titles going out on this episode will be, with the secret formula to church growth, right? Sounds mysterious. What I've seen a lot happen, especially with bigger churches, is that they double down on life groups or home groups or whatever you want to call them. I'll call them life groups in this because that's what I'm used to. Drew, you can call them what? Yes groups?
Yes groups. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So churches have different names for them, but kind of the same concept. And, recent research from Barna and Gallup showed that those involved in small groups are significantly more likely to attend regularly, serve, give, and share their faith. According to Lifeway research, 61% of churchgoers involved in a small group say their faith is growing compared to only 31% of those who just attend worship services. And so We have experiences we'll share on here about life groups and personally, and also from a leadership perspective. But just generally, I think I've noticed, and I've noticed this, the Carey Nieuwhof podcast we talk about a lot. He had the head of CCV, which has 18 campuses here in Arizona, one of the largest churches in the country now. And that whole episode was talking about how they just focus on community and on groups. And if you go to their services, I've heard this from people, like that's their main focus of their services, obviously, besides the sermon, is to try to get you involved in a group. So much so that they even changed the structure of how they build buildings now to incorporate more community things, more things to do after services, like food and
they have a grill.
And activities.
They have a grill outside their campuses. And as you walk onto the campus, the first thing that you smell is hamburgers. And when you're a church that is directed towards men, because you recognize that if we get the men, we get the family. For a guy to walk up to a church and on the way in, you're smelling hamburgers and hot dogs, and then you get inside and every TV is showing ESPN and ESPN2, I'm in. Like, what more do I need to do? Like, yeah, we're going to do Jesus too, but for a large church and that being their mission, they're certainly running after it in a smart way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is the case of bigger churches pushing life groups even more than smaller churches, because what I've seen is that mega churches often have a small menu of what they have for programming, and they focus heavily on Sunday and they focus heavily on life groups. And sometimes that's it. I mean, yeah, there's other events and things like that, but that's kind of like a 1-2 punch of what we do. And also there's a bigger menu in smaller churches. Like my church is not huge, and we have a huge menu sometimes, so much so that we've intentionally asked the question over the last 2 years, like, why do we have some of this stuff, right? Because you almost feel like you have to have everything for everyone in order for them to like you. And granted, there's many things we do that are great. There's some things that we could get rid of, but if we were to completely go to just life groups and Sunday at a church our size, that would be a big culture shock, because first of all, we're not used to it, and we'd have to obviously kill things that people are passionate about now. And so, but if you start from the beginning of this, maybe a new church, or you already have it set up in a mega church or a bigger church, that this is what we do, people are much more accepting of it, because people in those formats will want to just come on Sunday. Maybe more so than smaller churches, because like a church of 50, it's really hard to come and just hide in the seats, right? You have to be seen by people. And if you just want to come to a bigger church and show up in the back and no one talk to you, that's possible. But these bigger churches push them into groups because they know that we are so big that for any chance for you to have any kind of depth or discipleship or community, you have to get involved in a group. And the same goes for any size. I mean, discipleship will happen when you start getting involved and you start serving and you start being around other people and you start talking just about random things or about the sermon or whatever it is. So, Drew, you have experience in bigger churches too. Like, what have you seen as far as along the lines of what I'm saying here?
Well, I've seen this done really well. I've seen this done really poorly. And I will say right off the bat, I think the stats that you read off at the beginning from Barna Group are right on. When people are in groups, they are way more likely to serve, to give, and to attend. So to put that in perspective, I'll use my current church, Yes Church, right? I'll use mine to kind of back this up. We have over 30% of our people in Yes groups. Now that stat alone is very high. Most churches that I've been part of, especially mega churches, which is several, those churches are looking for anything above 18 to 20% is a win. If 20% of our congregation, you think about that, it's like, oh, well, that's not a lot. And it's like, well, what if you have 38,000 people? That's a lot to manage. 20% is a lot of that. Or what if you have 20,000 people, right? 20% is a lot. So usually 20% is the goal. We're over 30%. But here's what I've noticed. That 30%, that's the 30% that attends 3 times a month and not 2. That's the 30% that is coming to me with ideas about how to further our ministry, not just going, yeah, whatever you think is best. That's the 30% that you can tap on the shoulder and go, hey, we're doing a big stage project this week and we're trying to figure out how we can get volunteers involved. And they're like, okay, cool. I'll bring my entire group on a Tuesday night and that'll be what we do that night. Or I'll tap 4 other people on the shoulder and all 5 of us will be here, on Saturday. So that stat's legit. That percentage that is in the group, like one way or another, that's what's growing your church. Like that's the group that's growing your church. That's the group that's on fire. And that brings accountability. If you don't show up, it's not now on the pastor to go, oh, the last 3 weeks, so-and-so hasn't been here. Oh, I need to reach out to them. It's like, nah, the group knew they weren't here Sunday because they were out of town. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I do now. Like I recognize this past Sunday, there's a couple that hadn't been here 3 straight weeks. And I was like, dang, I haven't seen them in 3 weeks. I went to their yes group leader and they were like, oh yeah, 3 weeks ago they were at the beach. And then last week they started a 10-day cruise. So they knew they were going to miss 2 Sundays. They'll be back this Sunday. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't need to go call them and go, we missed you. And they tell me all that information. I just, when they come back and I see them again, now I can go, how was the cruise? Right. And they're like, oh, you know me, you know what we're doing. So now I have a mental note from a yes group leader. Sunday, I'm going to immediately ask that family, how was the cruise? So that's what it does. It really does provide little ministry outlets to your church. Now, all that being said, what I've seen in life groups, what I've seen is them done really well in some environments. I've seen them done very poorly in others. And what that almost always comes back to is an unclear definition of what the goal is.
Sure.
So when we say life groups, what do we mean? You were just talking about CCV. Their definition is we have groups and we have community. Well, if we have groups and we have community, then we need to have clear definitions of what is building community and what is building groups. Well, their clear definition is community is grilling out, hanging out, and just spending casual time with one another. Groups is discipleship, focused curriculum, whether it be the sermon or Bible. And that's where a lot of churches define groups and community as both. And to me, that's when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's just when it doesn't work, because you're now trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, not recognizing that, I don't know if you know this, but just because I'm in a group with you doesn't mean that we need to hang out and be best friends. I'm going to connect with some of the group, but out of 12, 15 people to think that all 12, all 15, we're now going to be besties.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen. Certainly not with my personality. So I'm going to have 2 or 3 that I might like really enjoy, but then everything else is like, let's grow in our knowledge and our wisdom and our discernment.
Yeah.
And then the community piece is, hey, does this 2 or 3 that I really like out of the group, y'all want to go to dinner, or y'all want to go bowling, or y'all want to go do this, or y'all want to go do that? That's the community piece. So to me, when the definitions are clear of what community is, what discipleship is, and then what groups are actually being used for, that's when they are most successful. And, I've seen very large churches try to we're just going to mold them together. And unfortunately, because we are human, our default is to fall into community and not discipleship, because, well, discipleship's hard. I'd rather just invite 15 people over to my house to hang out and go, how are you? And then tell everybody that was like a God connection. Then, I need to read Psalms 121, 22, 23, 24 and be ready to answer 9 questions. Jeez. All right. That's a totally different idea. So I think you got to have a clear definition. And this is why it goes back to the leader, Tim. I mean, it just does, whoever's over groups and whoever's leading the church, like it goes back to them making sure they have a clear goal and a clear vision for what we're trying to accomplish. And then that is communicated really well to all the group leaders.
Yeah. And I think these bigger churches they have more resources, first of all, and sometimes they have a pastor just over life groups, right? And they are able to have someone intentionally manage all this stuff, which gets, scales up the bigger you get. But it
Sure.
also doesn't mean that the smaller churches can't do something intentional too. It just means that the one pastor there may not be able to do it. You might have to
Correct.
develop a volunteer leader or group leaders that you can trust and follow up with, like you did, who
Yep.
can lead that without expecting you to do it all. And that might seem overwhelming to some pastors in churches that, well, I can't manage, 20 groups, so we just can't do it right now. But it goes back to like, what's the focus? Because the more I see these big churches focus on this and it works, I mean, CCV's model works, whether you like it or not. I personally don't like the screen, right? I don't like a pastor that's not present. That's me personally, but they have hundreds, thousands of people that like this model. And so, first of all, it works. It may not be for you, it may not be for your church model, but you can't deny the fact that LifeGroups works. And why do they work? And what makes a good life group? And that's really the question we want to try to answer, is what makes a good life group? What makes a bad life group? And one of the things I've seen is consistency, knowing when you meet, having it on the calendar, making sure that it's not random. I mean, it can be a random hangout, but you have to know that, on Monday night at 7 p.m., we're hanging out, we're doing a life group, and it has to be a strong leadership. There has to be someone, a couple or a person that is over the group. Otherwise it can be chaos if no one's like reeling people in or steering the conversation a certain way. So there has to be a leader that's not strong in that or can't assert that. You can have a strong personality take over the thing. And then the people that want to be on topic are now frustrated because someone's not actually keeping them on pace. Someone wants to talk about the government or talk about some random conspiracy theory, right? And that's not what you're there to do. Also, having a gift of hospitality is important. It doesn't have to be something fancy, but there is something to be said about someone that can set up an environment that is inviting, right? Have snacks out, have a clean house, have a noise-free area. Basic stuff like that seems commonplace, but many people don't do that or know how to do it. If it's not your gift of hospitality, maybe you shouldn't lead a group and just attend a group. And I've seen too, we've talked about this recently, is the fact that if you're new to a church, it can be overwhelming if you're told you need to be in life group, join one of these 30 groups. That seems extremely overwhelming because you're asking me to join a group. I'm new to this church. I don't know who the people are. And now I have to go to a random house. Like, yeah, that's asking a lot.
A lot.
And so,
and then if I don't like them, who's going to communicate that? Do I have to tell them I don't want to be there?
Well, especially if I'm like 5 minutes in, that this was a bad decision. Like, you can't just bail. I mean, that's going to be even more awkward. And so you have to kind of put yourself in the perspective of the newer person, right? And I've been in church my whole life, and I try to do this. What is it like walking in these doors on Sunday? What is it like experiencing a service when you don't understand words that we are common with, like the blood of Jesus or resurrection and stuff like that?
Sure.
It doesn't mean you necessarily change. It just means you sometimes need to clarify what you're trying to do and why. And I think when it comes to life groups, what we're trying to do, and we're in the process of this right now. So we've noticed that we need to have a focus on life groups, because what we've done really well is have the person walking through the door get connected with. We've done a good job from parking lot to sanctuary. And this even starts from like invitations on social media. We had a big campaign through a company called Church Candy to get people in the door for first-time visits. And then we have a good solid, we call them covenant members who are with the church, who are serving and giving and stuff like that. The gap in between is from like first-time visit to being involved. We lose people either because we don't have their info, we don't know who they are, they showed up and no one follows up, or the bigger issue is they don't get connected with being in community. Because if you don't feel like people are for you, if you feel like you're alone, there's a much better chance you'll fall off or try to find another church. And so one thing we're focused on is we might have 30 life groups, but actually having these pathways to belong or pathways to community. And so one of them is going to be men. So if you're a man, you can go to a barbecue once a month. And once you're at that barbecue, we will plug you into a small group, because we have leader. We already have the small groups, but instead of trying to pick a life group that has men in it, just go to a barbecue and we'll connect you. The other thing we're trying to do is for women. So we have Monday night, it's called Women of the Word, and go to that. They'll get you plugged in. Same thing for seniors. We have a potluck once a month. Go to that. The seniors will plug you in somewhere. And then the same thing for couples. Tuesday night, we have couples a couple's life group that meets at the church, and there's smaller ones that meet in homes, but just come on Tuesday at the church if you're a married couple that want to be in a life group, and we will get you plugged in somewhere. And so that's where we're at right now. We think it'll be a lot easier for people coming in. Oh, I just have to pick one of these 4 paths, and that will help me get plugged in, instead of looking at this long. We've handed out brochures before. Here's all our life groups. Pick one that looks good to you. As opposed to someone coming up saying, hey, you're new here. We have a life group at our house. We'd love for you to come. My name's so-and-so, and here's my number. Text me. Right? Like, that personal touch goes a long way. And
that's
and
everything.
I've heard amazing stories of churches that like almost fight over new people because
Correct.
all the life group leaders want that person to come to their group. That's what you do. Talk about that.
Group. That's Yes Church, dude.
Yeah.
That's Yes Church. So just so you know, like big church to small church, I've seen the hierarchy before be, all right, we have a lead pastor, then we have the executive pastor team. Underneath our discipleship executive pastor sits the person in charge of life groups. Underneath the person in charge of life groups sit what we call area pastors. They are 30 area pastors, and they're divvied up based on zip code. So one campus might need 2 area pastors. One campus might only need 1. One campus in Canada might need 5, right? But you have 30 area pastors. Then underneath those area pastors, anyone, my zip code, for instance, 27539, anybody who is under the zip code 27539 that is meeting, that's my flock. Mm-hmm. So lead pastor cares for executive team and the executive discipleship pastor cares for the life group pastor. The life group pastor cares for 30 area pastors. The 30 area pastors care for their flock in their zip code. And then whoever is leading the life groups individually cares for the people coming to their life group. So there's your chain. At a small church like mine, we don't have that luxury. Sure. I don't have a staff. I don't have area pastors, but what we do is we divvy people up based on zip code, and I put all the ownership on the people leading the yes groups. You're in charge of recruiting for your yes group. You're in charge of growing your yes group. You're in charge of splitting your yes group. Mm-hmm. Last fall, when we started yes groups, we set a date, August 1st, which is the day of today. We set a date where our goal is that our groups would split, and they are, because all of our groups are now over 12 people, all of them. So now we've got to split, and that sucks, because I've built relationships with these people, but guess what? Now I've got leaders getting creative. Here's what we'll do. We'll split on August 1st. We'll go over here with 7, and you'll go over there with 7. And then once a month, guess what we'll do together? Community. We'll eat dinner together. We'll hang out with each other. But then other than that, we're bi-weekly meeting for discipleship. And then once a month, community. And so you know what they have figured out? They have figured out that they can do both. Sure. But there's a moment for discipleship and there's a moment for community. We're not trying to do it at the same time. Yeah. And so that's what we've started. That's what's happening. And man, when a first time guest walks in, bro, it is like, hey, who are you? How'd you hear about us? Where are you from? No way. You live over at Adams Point? No way. 3 people in my yes group live in Adams Point. No way. We meet this time. We meet this time. We meet this time. You should come do it. You don't even have to prep. You could hop right in. You're just like, it's legit. And it's like, oh, I would do that. But Doug already told me about his group and they meet on Wednesday nights and I'm available Wednesday nights. Oh, Doug already got you. Oh, man. Okay. No worries. Listen, if you go to Doug's group, you don't like it, you come talk to me. We'll get you. And that's the deal. And then the other thing is what I've learned with these life groups is that the one challenge that people really have is, what if I don't like it? Who handles that conversation? And that's where I've stepped in and said, I will. Yeah. So I don't want to put that on a leader. Now, one day, if we have more people, look, if I had a staff member that was over 30 area pastors and the 30 area pastor, I'd have somebody handle that. But for right now, If we have somebody go to a group and say, I'm just not feeling it, it's not quite my thing. They all have kids. I don't. They're all old. I'm not there. They don't have kids. I do. I'm kind of looking for cool. Why don't you try this group now? And I will have the conversation with that leader. And then it's on me to make sure I protect the integrity and protect the relationship of those two. And so that's been so beautiful, because then it's a get out of jail free card.
Sure.
Tim, I want you to come to my yes group. And here's the deal, dude. If you don't like it, just come tell me and we'll find you another one. Or Tim, go try Dustin's yes group. And if you don't like it, come tell me. I'll get you out of it. We'll find one that works for you. We do the same thing when it comes to serving. You want to serve in production? Try it out. You don't like it? We'll find a place for you to serve, but you are going to serve. Like there's got to be an expectation, and people don't just want to hear you talk about it. They want to see it. And so as a staff at a church, all of your staff should be in a group. All of your staff should be inviting people to church. You can't say, hey, bring your neighbors to church, but I never see your neighbors. Bring your friends to church. I never see your friends. Like, if we're going to be an invite church, you're going to see a lot of people I know. And that should show you that I believe in what we're doing here. And then I am in 2 yes groups. My wife runs one, which means I'm in it. We host it at my house. We have 11 kids in our yes group. Kids, just 11 kids. It's nuts. We get stuff done, but man, it's hard. But we do it. And we do the hospitality thing, we do the thing. But we've gotten so big, I'm splitting up. Now I'm going to do a whole nother one. Because we had 24 seniors graduate. Who's going to run a young adult group for guys? I'll do it. Yeah. So now, elders, you're all in a yes group. Elders, you're all serving. Elders, you're all splitting your yes group. Elders, so your staff, your elders, your lead volunteers, it is an expectation. We give, we serve, we do discipleship, we attend, we take this very seriously. This is what we do. You don't want to do that? I can point you to 13 churches in the area that you can just walk in, be a consumer, and no one will even know you were there. Go do you. But if you walk in here, you're going to know what we're about. And so, we're going to fight over you. And we want you to get connected, because we know that once you do, you're going to recognize, wow, I can walk into this place and immediately know that I know 12 people. And if I ever have a question, whether it's life or religious, I got people I can go to, and I like worshiping with these people, and our kids go to the same schools. And so you've got to drive that culture forward and create the care system through it. And that's really, that's really when you become successful. You can't just speak it. You got to show it, and you got to be committed. You got to just sell out to it, because like you mentioned, it does work. It does work. I know there's people listening right now that are like, well, so does Sunday school. You're right. Sunday school, I've seen that work too. I've also seen Sunday school split churches. Life groups, those work. I've also seen life groups split churches. What it comes down to at the end of the day is if a leader will sell out to something enough and create clear vision and definition and put the right people in charge and actually spend the time, a lot of things can work, and a lot of things can be pushed forward. So I think there's a lot of options to go with. But to me, again, just a clear definition. You throw Sunday school in on Sundays. Now you've got 2 definitions on Sundays. Sundays is about serving. Well, it's also about discipleship. Well, it's also about community. Well, it's also about this. And life groups allows you to break apart, like Sunday we do this, and then Monday through Saturday we do this.
Yeah. It's really good. And I think that when you look at life groups, you have to understand that the benefit of them, and there's a huge benefits to the things you're talking about, and also that it's not easy, because there are lots of reasons why life groups fail and why it does split churches, like you said. And it comes down to having the right leaders. Like, we've had moments when we put out an all call, hey, if you want to lead a life group, let us know, right? And we don't do that anymore, because we have people that want to lead a group, and we're like, sorry, you can't. And they're like, well, you asked. And I was like, so now we just have to personally invite people.
Tap
Would you like
them on
to
the
lead
shoulder?
a group?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that we have seen, them serve, we've seen their heart, we know they're for the church. Otherwise, it can get very dangerous. Also, if you're not following up with your leaders, because you might have a quote good leader from what you think, but if you don't follow up and it's 4 months down the road and they're teaching God knows what to the group,
Right.
and then you're hearing it from the people in the group, it's like, I don't know if this is biblical. And so the reasons why life groups fail is lack of vision or direction. You have personality clashes. And here's the thing, not everyone's going to get along. Like you said, you put 10 people, 15 people into a small group together, you're going to have people that rub each other the wrong way, that have different worldviews, that have different political views, that have different walks of life or levels of sanctification. The people that, if you have a group that, half the group likes to drink and half the group doesn't, it's hard to do a fellowship together because someone might want to drink in front of someone else that doesn't want to. And
now we've had that. Have you had that happen?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I feel like every church has had that happen. And again, it goes back to like, okay, our life group,
ground rules.
Our life group, we had a cookout and so started drinking and we were like, oh, is this what kind of party it is? And then so-and-so started, and then half the group was drinking. And then one of the people got like, one of the ladies got like really drunk. And it's like, that sounds like community, and that's not what life groups are for. So it's like, let's focus the definition around discipleship. Also, that you're out as a leader, like we're not doing that. And so I do think there's a benefit to the lead pastor if you're a small church or whoever's over small groups, life groups for larger churches. You should be at a different group every week. You should host, like if you're the guy, like if I am the life group discipleship pastor, I'm hosting a group. And then once a week, I'm going to someone else's group, and I'm never going to tell you when I pop in.
And you have a second in command who covers when you're gone.
100%. I'm just going to show up, and I've done this. I show up and just go, hey, I heard from so-and-so y'all are meeting, and I just thought I'd pop in and I'd join. If I walk in and you're not prepped and you're not prepared and you've just got like, nothing going on, party's over. Party's over. Yeah. So that's kind of, that there's accountability in that.
Yeah. So a couple of the reasons why life groups fail: leaders that are controlling. So someone that, follows up every week. If you miss a week, they shame you, that follows up, daily in a way that is condescending and not like, comforting or encouraging. Leaders can go on a power trip. Oh, I lead a small group now. I mean something. I have this title. No, that's not what it's about, buddy. So, no childcare solution. That can be a reason that it fails. If you are in that need for something that is, where to take your kids. Childcare is such a tough topic.
It is
for churches to cover, both for big groups, events, and then life groups. It's always there is like either we pay someone and then our budget goes out the window for events, or small groups have to figure it out. And I just can't figure it out. My house isn't conducive to kids. And so I can't have this couple over because they have 5-6 kids. That's a real thing that can cause problems.
Sure.
And then also groups fail because they teach something that contradicts church doctrine. So this is a big one. People go off on tangents, so they don't get reeled in. They're not on topic if you're covering over a book or a sermon or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden someone has a voice for something. Like we had this with someone that didn't believe that we should read anything that Paul wrote in the Bible. And they were very adamant to the point that they spoke up many times in settings, small group things, to the point that we had to ask them to leave because they weren't being submissive to I don't even care if you have that opinion, just don't bring it up. And if it conflicts with the church you're in, don't talk about it because you're so
that's where, if somebody says we should listen to Paul, I'll be like, how do you feel about listening to Matthew so that you go about this the appropriate way? Like, what, can we listen to Matthew? Because if we were to listen to Matthew, you would just go talk to whoever's in charge and not bring this up in front of the group. So we're not going to listen to Paul or Matthew. Got it. All right, cool.
Yeah. It's funny too, because this person was having a hard time finding a church. It's like, well, what church is going to say on their doctrine that they don't believe in Paul? That's a fringe thing that you will never find a full church. It'll be a cult that does it. Anyway, so if you have topics that a lot of times what happens here, if it conflicts with church doctrine or the way the church is leaning, the church might break off and it'll no longer be your church's life group. It'll be a life group that still meets with the same people, but now they're going to talk bad about the church. And
Yep.
I've seen that over and over. Or it'll be a group that starts up that isn't officially under your life groups, but then they'll grab people from your church and they kind of go to church, but they don't. And they have this life group, but it's not official. And so then people join it thinking it is official and they realize it's not. And then you have this whole can of worms. Or what I've seen is that people that left the church will still attend an official life group. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Drew, but it becomes this thing of, okay, you're not for the church. You're still in community with people in the church, but now you're going to attend a life group. And I take the chance that you won't badmouth the church. You may not, but then you might. What do you think?
I'm a big no on that. Hard pass. Do community some other time. You're friends with everybody in the group. Cool. Invite them to your house the following night.
Yeah.
But if you've made the call, now look, if you're like, hey, I've never been to your church before, but I really like this life group. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
great.
Totally different.
That's the front door for a lot of people. We have neighbors next door. They come to our Yes group and they have 2 kids, because their church doesn't have a life group that is like in their area, and they just don't feel like they know enough and have the time to lead one. Okay, cool. So I know they're not coming to Yes Church. They have a church, but if they ever don't have a church, I know the first church they'll try. And sometimes, like when my daughter got baptized, they will come to church. Their kids will, and they support each other. So I have no issues with that. But if somebody like went to your church and now they're like, I don't like the pastor, I don't like the worship, or I don't like the way things are going, guess what? You're out. You're out. And look, everything requires a conversation. Maybe there's special things and special situations, and sure, blanket statements are always really hard. But in general, but I'm just not a fan of, if you're not big on the church, it's the church, it's the people, man. Like if you're not big on the church, how can you be big on the people? It just
I agree. At some point something will come out. It may not be immediate or maybe in the first few months, but at some point they'll say something like, oh, did you know I left this church and I go here now? Did you want to come with me on Sunday? And it's like, man, you just have people like they're stealing your people all of a sudden.
Well, not only that, but if a first time guest walks into that kind of group and goes, Tim, nice to meet you. What do you do at Yes Church? Or what do you do? Oh, actually, I don't go there. I'm just friends with this guy, and I actually go down here to da-da-da, and there I'm on the production team. The first time, and then you know what the next question is for a first time guest? So do the rest of you all go to Yes Church?
That's so confusing.
That's absolutely the next question.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't go to Yes Church? Do y'all go to Yes Church?
Am I in the right spot? Yeah.
Like that's the next question. You do, you do, you don't, you do, you do. Okay. Yeah. It's like, come on, dude. And then that means you're never doing sermon specific studies. You can't get everybody on the same page from a curriculum standpoint. And that also means that if you ever did like a serve project or a group project or anything, it's not going to work. Oh, my group would do that. But the majority of my group's made up by people that don't go here. It's like, like we're missing ministry, man. There's a reason there's so many churches, bro. Everybody's got their angle. Everybody's got their calling. Everybody's got their specific need. And I love that. I think that's really important and really needed. Your church is not like my church. My church is not like another church down the road. Good. Let's celebrate that. As long as your doctrine is legit, let's celebrate that. You go reach the people that I can't, and you go reach the people that I can't, and I'll try to reach the people that I can. And let's all grow the kingdom together. Yeah. That's it. That's it. We got to be okay with that.
And that's the thing. Once you start seeing this as a missional thing, not only are you reaching people in the church and discipling them, but you're also, all these homes are in communities. All of them have neighbors, and all of them have a way to reach out to people to come into a home. And someone to come into a home, have some barbecue is much more appealing to the non-Christian than walking into a church, sitting through worship, not knowing what the heck's going on.
Yep.
But if you know so-and-so down the street and you've done life with them and now they have the invite to come to church, it might be a no, but also it's a much easier yes if you already know somebody, because people that are invited are much more likely to come to church. That's not even up for question. But to wrap this up, a couple of things to cover during your group. It could be the Sunday sermon, like you mentioned. It could be a book or a Bible study. Right Now Media is a great tool for video series to go through.
There's so many tools like Right Now Media that just make this so simple.
Yeah. And also now with ChatGPT, you can take a sermon, a transcript of the entire sermon, and write up a study guide for a small group to have based on that. So you're not trying to rehash the whole thing. It's already been done. Your pastor preached it. So there you go.
Yeah. When I was part-time and I was basically over everything and I was creating the curriculum as well, that's what we did.
Yeah.
I asked for, I think it was 7 to 10 questions that would be thought-provoking, engaging, and stir conversation based on the following sermon. And then I'd pick the best 3, 4, or 5 questions. I'd send that out to Doug Coons, one of our elders. And then Doug would send that to all the leaders, which at the time I think was like 3 or 4 people. Yeah. Now we've, certainly grown and have more groups, but same kind of thing. Like, we still hit that from time to time if we're going through a sermon thing, because you can always go back and double check and make sure, oh, that is a thought-provoking question. That is good. It helps with time as well.
Yeah, for sure. And people are hesitant to this idea of small groups, life groups. People that have had past church hurt, past bad experiences with groups may not get involved again. And so we have to make sure we emphasize the fact that these groups are safe, that they have relationships before they commit to them. We have to understand that some are just introverts and some don't like to talk, period. And we'll have a hard time in these groups. And that's why, like you said, the percentages of 20 to 30%, we're not trying to get 90 to 100% of the church involved in these. Obviously, we would like that, but we realize that in reality, people are busy, people have multiple jobs, multiple commitments, but we have to see the benefit of it. And if you have the time and the ability to push yourself, because these are uncomfortable situations many times, to learn new people, to understand who they are, to be in an environment. And this whole topic, if you've listened, and you're, a lot of this is for church leaders, but this is for you too in the church as a Christian, because this is beneficial to you. You might say, well, I'll never be a pastor someday, and that's totally fine. I serve and I do this, and this. Maybe God's calling you to step up and lead a small group. Your church needs leaders. I guarantee you, they're always looking for someone to lead something, especially if it's an unserved area of the community or your neighborhood. Start something small. I can't tell you how many stories I hear of churches that blew up because of it started as a small group. It started as 10 people in a living room that just grew because of that missional mindset and hospitality focus. And so if you're not involved, consider this episode as you listen to it to get involved, either leading or just being a part of it. There was a period when we were part of a life group, and right now we're not, but we want to get involved again to do that, me and my wife. And so there's seasons when you can and can't, but maybe this is a challenge. You need to get back in there and really do life, because I've mentioned previously, those that are in community at church are much more likely to stay, not only because of knowing people, but because when life hits hard, you have people to surround you, to show up at the hospital. That is not just your pastor and prayer team. Hope they will as well. But if you have somebody who you are close with that you can reach out to with a prayer request that can then filter it up to the leadership and stuff, that goes much further than trying to get a hold of a pastor. And especially in these bigger churches, that won't happen, right? That the pastor can't serve 4,000 people on a text basis.
Correct.
And so that's why these groups are so important. So final thoughts.
And if, from my perspective, also remember, because I don't want, I know one of the fancy things to do is, well, of course you're in a life group or, whatever, you work at a church. And I'm like, cool. Put yourself in my shoes. Where do you think the majority of my burden and stress comes from in my life? The people who attend my church. Okay. Who am I in a yes group with? The people that attend my church. So when we go around and go, how's everybody doing? When we go, how does this scripture speak to your life? I am the one, and my wife is the one. We're honest. I'm a pretty vulnerable guy. I'm pretty transparent. But my yes group is outside of the church as well. And I have a group that I submit to, that I talk to, that if I have questions, if I have issues, that I go to different people for different situations. Because wouldn't it be awful to just sit around and hear about how Drew is so burdened or so stressed or so whatever about the church? But you should invite people this Sunday to come to the church. It doesn't work like that. So I hear that rebuttal a lot of times. Of course, you're in one. So here's what I want to tell you. If you go to a church, whether you're on staff, whether you're in the church, whatever, you need to value this. And whatever the hesitation is for staff members, it's not really for me. Great. Then show them how it should be for them. And if you're just attending a church and you're like, well, I'm introverted and I'm not really a talkative person, great. Realize that before you're a nationality, before you're a race, before you're a tax bracket, before you're a personality, you're a Christian. Mm-hmm. And so if you are a follower of Christ, I mean, this is what Christ modeled, right? Like Garden of Gethsemane, he's got the entire disciples around. What does he do? He pulls Peter, James, and John a little bit further away from the group, gets vulnerable, and says what? My soul, I'm hurting to the point of death. Pray with me. Why didn't he do that to the rest of the group? The rest of the group wasn't his small group. That wasn't it. Then he goes a stone's throw away to be with the Father, right? So you've got this outer court, inner court, holy of holies expression. Yeah. Jesus modeled this. And so we don't need you to get up in front of 15 people and share your testimony, but you need to have 2 or 3 that you can go to. And if Jesus needed 2 or 3, you're going to need 2 or 3. I'm going to need 2 or 3. Tim's going to need 2 or 3. We're going to need those people so that when stuff hits the fan, we go, hey, I'm like losing it here. I'm really aching and I need you to pray with me. That's what it's for. So to all the to all the objections, to all the barriers, in all empathy, get over it. Right. You know, like you got to get over it. You got to push through that and you got to do what we're called to do, be who we're called to be. Sure. And I think a lot more good will come from it than bad. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, let us know your comments. We'd like to hear your stories on small groups, good and bad. Email the show, eyesonjesuspodcast@outlook.com. You can comment just like Nick did on Spotify. YouTube, thanks, Nick. Also, our Eyes on Jesus podcast community on Facebook. And don't forget, help support the show, kingdomandwill.com. Use the code Eyes on Jesus for 15% off. Mm-hmm. Great conversation, Drew. And thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a friend. That goes a long way in supporting the show as well. So until next time, go with God, grow in discernment, and keep your eyes on Jesus.
Thanks for joining us on the Eyes on Jesus podcast with Drew and Tim. Don't forget to hit subscribe